Deep in the earth, a war was being waged. Surrounded by a cocoon of stone, Thorn lay unmoving as his body was devoured, stripped of its life force by a magical curse. Nicked by a cursed dagger, Thorn's large frame had been reduced to little more than a skeleton. Above his skin, a rippling layer of nanites shifted in agitation as they watched the curse eat away at him. Pus-filled sores opened across his body as his flesh necrotized, prompting the nanites to rush into his skin, repairing the damage even as it was done. Above his chest, a small, winged fairy stared down at him, her expression full of concern. "Come on, Thorn. You can do it." Though there was no one who could hear Eve's voice, she still spoke out loud, hoping it would somehow reach Thorn in his unconscious state. Around her, hundreds of thousands of tiny symbols hung in the air, filling the open space between Thorn and the rock that encased him, like the fluid of an egg. If Thorn was awake, he would have been surprised to discover that none of the runes she was using were known to him, yet even unknown, their power couldn't be denied. Biting her lip, Eve landed on Thorn's chest and pressed her hand down toward his heart. As soon as she made contact, the world shivered, and destiny flowed out of Eve, vanishing into the air as it rejoined the universe. For a full minute, the world continued to shift as she expended all of the destiny she had accumulated, leaving her with a hollow feeling. Letting out a breath, Eve erased the thread of resentment that started to form in her heart and concentrated, adding the final rune to the sea of runes surrounding them. The shuddering in the air had just begun to settle down when the runes lit up and began to flash. Slowly at first, but with ever-increasing speed, they flickered on and off, intangible patterns running through them. Every time they flickered, they shrank down, coming closer and closer to Thorn until they were sinking into his emaciated skin. There were so many that it took nearly 4 hours for all of them to enter Thorn, and by the time they had, he was little more than skin and bone. Inside his body, the nanites were forcefully keeping his organs moving as the magical curse tried to absorb his life force. By this point, the curse had spread into every inch of his body and was trying to suck the marrow out of his bones, but with an unending stream of energy, his heart continued to send life force throughout his form. Into this war, the tiny runes fell, still flashing with abstruse patterns. As soon as they approached the strands of mana powering the curse, they began to change, seeming to grow small spikes that stabbed into the curse, like tiny burrs.